go. Lovely.
Right, boy.
Hey Chris, how are you?
Not too bad, man. How you getting on?
Not too bad. Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah, sweet, yeah.
Good. Hopefully you'll understand my accent anyway and we'll get through this.
It's, it's
uh,
probably a bit more at your end when it comes to my accent than it is the other way around.
I'm fairly okay with the accents up north anyway, so
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. First of all, I want to thank you for coming on. It means so much to have someone like you on.
yeah, no worries.
Um, so basically, what I usually do is I start off with a quick intro, let everyone know who you are, um, and then we'll fire away with questions.
Yeah, man, work away.
So, everyone, today's guest on Max Power Podcast is a man whose mental strength is as awesome as his physical strength, an international strongman, mental health and LGBTQ ambassador and speaker, and an inspiration to many who have heard his story, including myself. It's Chris Big Bear McNaghten.
Good
So,
job.
Chris, we'll start off with the basics. What made you get into strongman?
The strongman was it was one of them sports I always watched as a kid on the TV, but like sort of one of them sports like I compare it similar to like WWE and stuff like that, where you always watch it as a fan, but you can never exactly think of yourself as actually doing it. Um, but I played rugby to a pretty high level when I was about 19. I sort of lost the head a bit with the rugby world, where I sort of felt that it wasn't my skills or my training or my lack of effort that was holding me back. It was more so not ticking other boxes outside of sport, and it frustrated me quite a bit. I believed that I deserved positions that I wasn't getting and stuff, and it came down to stupid things like what school I went to, and really like even things like who your family was and stuff like that. And I just sort of threw the head up with with rugby quite a bit, and then went straight to strongman. And initially at the time, I threw the head in. Glenn Ross had done an interview with, I think it was like the Sunday Life or something like that. It was a newspaper anyway, where he had said that he was thinking of retiring and coming close to retiring, and that he wanted somebody to come forward and sort of take over as the new Ireland's strongest man and the new face of strongman in Ireland type of thing. And I think it sort of inspired me to just say, well, I was 19 at the time. I was like, why can't that be me? And I reached out and I just went online to find the Irish Strength Association and messaged them. And it was sort of like, yeah, training's at 12 o'clock on Saturday at Market Hill. And it's mad, like I feel like a bit of an old boy in the gym now, where like you're sitting telling these stories of the past, and like you don't know how lucky you were and all, but like back then, like it was a 2 hour drive to train with strongman equipment, and a 2 hour drive back again every single Saturday. And when you got there, the equipment was in the cow shed, and you had to basically clean the shite off the equipment so you could like start training and like clear space and pull everything out of a big pile and stuff, like, and it's definitely like, strongman back then, which is, we're talking 12, 13 years ago in Ireland, was a handful of people who competed, like genuinely a handful, and very few gyms had anything to do with strongman in it. One of the things I think has helped massively with that over the years, was CrossFit and stuff coming about, where so many gyms now have like farmers walks and sandbags and have like low weight strongman equipment in their gyms, but it's bringing that side of strongman into gyms now, where people can start throwing their hand in with it and seeing what they think of it, and realizing that actually I'm pretty strong here. But I even started off training at my local leisure centre. Which, looking back now, I think looking back over a career, you really do realise how stupid you were starting off, and how little you knew, and how much you should have listened to other people. And like, Um, you know, all the things that people were telling you, but you just thought you knew better when you were starting off.
Yeah,
But it's looking back as to like way strongman is now compared to then. Like the first time I done Ireland's Strongest Man, there's maybe 12 people in it and about 50 people watching it. Um, and the 12 that were in it were they were sort of like powerlifters or strongmen who were really strong. Do you know what I mean? You didn't have anybody trying their hand at it. It was sort of
yeah,
more that people had powerlifted for a long time and knew that they were strong, or people had been big, strong bodybuilders and they knew they were strong. So they were like, they knew that they could do it. It wasn't a matter of somebody saying, I'm going to start competing and try and get strong. But that's the way I would have went into it. I didn't touch weights until I was 19, and actually went to the strongman training yard before he had even lifted a weight, and then just started weights training then after that and trying to sort of play catch up. But I was lucky, like whenever I started strongman as a junior, like I did really well, and like I won junior Ireland Strongest Man twice, and went to junior UK Strongest Man, went to Britain's Strongest Man. I think Britain's Strongest Man that I was at was in like 2015 or something like that. It's the first time Britain's Strongest Man came back again after it had stopped for a long period of time. It was the first time that Darren Sadler and Colin Bryce brought it back again. So like definitely when things started off, there was probably did way more competitions back then than I have done the last 5 years. Like you were doing every single competition under the sun. It was just like a lot of it was starting off with probably making up numbers for shows, um, helping people out and stuff. But then the next thing you were sort of at a competitive level where you weren't making up a number anymore. You were actually there to challenge for the win. But it's you know for a long time I had that hunger of thinking should I had give rugby a bit more of a go, and you sort of felt, and I do still feel, and I never ever reached my full potential at rugby. Like I honestly believe that I could have propped for Ulster and possibly Ireland, but and I never got to reach that full potential. But I don't regret it. Like like going into strongman has given me a life that rugby could never give you. No
yeah,
matter how great you get. There's very very few people in the sport of rugby actually set a life up for themselves. Very, very few people in strongman actually set a life up for themselves, but I've definitely been lucky enough where I've been able to do that.
yeah. I think even like I obviously most young lads do try different sports. Like you were saying, you were into rugby, and it wasn't for you. I was kind of the same with GAA, soccer, and I think I've even done kickboxing. And once I got into strongman, there was just a different feel to it. And
Mm.
we were talking on the first episode, about me and my friend Aidan. We competed in our first comp, and the amount of friends we made just from one comp alone,
Yeah,
and then through social media, it's something you wouldn't get in most team sports.
yeah. No, the strongman world is like there's a lot of sports I've done. I did powerlifting for a long time, and like the strongman world is the least bitchiest world I've ever been in sport. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, everybody has their moments and stuff like that there, but in general, like there is that switch that flips on when you're competing, and it's sort of like fuck you, I want to kill you type of thing. I want to beat you, but like that's just the way you have to be to compete. But I have found anyway, like the friendships that are in it and the way people get on and stuff like that. Like everybody's in their own wee world, as you have to be a good athlete in anything you do. But they're also like very friendly and come together. Like I have some brilliant friendships out of it, and amazing stories to tell, and people who are still friends to today. And it's one of them things as well that people who are really good friends, and then because you're spread out all over Ireland and all across the UK, you only really come together for strongman. So when you do get together, it's like a catch up, and it's when the competition's over, and it's going out for drinks and meals and stuff. And because you haven't really seen each other in such a long time, You just gel really well with people, you know.
Yeah, I think especially now, like with this lockdown and stuff, and no competitions going on, I think once competitions do get back properly running and spectators are back, it's going to be one hell of a show. Like no matter how small or big the competition actually is.
Yeah, I think that I think what will decide. I think it'll be quite shocked after lockdowns lifted as the results that we see in strongman, because people have gone about this two ways when the lockdown started. They've either turned around and been like, right, I need to keep lifting heavy and I need to keep pushing myself until a show comes along, or they've taken a step back and they've been like, right, we're not going to get competing here for a while, and if we do, it's going to be shit. So let's take 2 years out and plan to come back with a bang. And the people who do that are going to be scary people to compete against. The people who have kept pushing their bodies for 2 years for shows that are not to the standard that we're used to with shows. Um, in my mind, they're the people who have lost the 2 years. The person who's decided to, right, I've got injuries, I'm carrying too much body fat, my cardio's not as good as it should be, I need to give my body a break and get my body recover, and then give myself 8 to 10 months to come back stronger than ever. That that person will be dangerous, like definitely will be dangerous. And I just get this feeling, like just by looking at Instagrams and stuff like that there, that coming back to competing again, especially nationally, you know, like Ireland and stuff, we're going to get the strongmen who have kept pushing and are getting it tight, and then we're going to get these other guys coming in who are like a totally new machine and are just going to like. I think there's going to be some big upsets either this year or next year in strongman.
That's that's definitely an interesting point. It's actually the first time I've heard it. Now that you've said it, it's really putting it into perspective. I mean, there is going to be lads that are going to take time out and recover and come back better than they were 2 years ago by the time they're back.
I think like
Um,
so many years competing. Like I was actually talking to a fella the other day about this year, and like after so many years competing, you realize that you know you're not playing Sonic the Hedgehog with unlimited lives. You know you have a time frame to compete, and like I know like there's plenty of athletes out there who have had 20-year careers, but that's rare. Like that is rare when you think about it. Like a lot of people turn care to like Mark Felix and Strunis has had long years in life and all that and competing. But for somebody who's been a fan for years, I've seen more superstars come and go than I have see like superstars remaining. Um, Off the top of my head, you had like say Kevin Nee, was an amazing strongman but had a really short career. Um, Travis Ortmeyer had a pretty long career, mind you, but you know injuries and stuff brings it to a stop. And even like locally in Ireland, we have seen a lot of strongman men get to like Giants Live and get to Worlds and then stop because they've got to that level which they've always wanted, and then got there and realised, holy shit, I actually need to give way more, and I feel that I'm burning myself clean out as it is. Um, so like I think you realise like after a lot of years competing that you just don't have all your life to like achieve it. You have a set period of time, and you need to get out and get it done. And your body's just not going to always be there with you, like you know. I sort of feel that I've got like 3 lives remaining, and like every the fear of every injury or the fear of like just genuinely lifting heavy weights and like pushing my body and stuff. Like you really do get that stage now where it's just like this isn't going to go on forever, like you know, and you just
yeah,
hoping you can get that one more life, that one more year where you can give it a good run and lift the title. Um, but it's a hard sport, you know, Liz. It's a hard sport, and it's a difficult sport to sort of to try and stay at the top of your game. And for the guys who do, you know, the guys like Felix and Cedrinis and stuff like that, fair play to them. I don't know how they do it, like, and still look so fit and healthy. Maybe it's just better knowledge, better um, help and support and stuff like that there, better facilities and stuff. I don't know, but like, I know Alexis Adrinas, you see a lot of stuff on his Instagram with doing like stem cell and like really advanced stuff, but you don't see Mark Felix do stuff like that there.
No,
He's just,
and even when they were kind of starting out, that stuff wasn't there either. I mean, Mark Felix competed against my grandfather, the UK's strongest man.
yeah.
Um, just on that, like my grandfather started, I think he was in or around 40, maybe a little older, when he actually started strongman. Do
Mhm.
you think there's a certain age that's too old to start, or
I
is
think
it
now,
based on you?
I think now it depends what level you're wanting to get to, but I think nowadays if you want to like be at the top level, um, you know, somebody was talking to me this other day, about weigh-ins and stuff like that, starting sports and weights too young. And I think there's a great point to be taken, from European countries and that there that bring body weight training and technique training and all that as teenagers, and really like train um, weightlifters to be weightlifters since they're like, coming out of primary school. There is but then at the same time that can come from just playing a sport, playing rugby or playing anything. You're building up an athletic conditioning from a young age. I have had people bring their teenagers into the gym, um, and they've never done sport before. They might be like, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of two lads in particular, and they maybe never done sport before. And at 15, 16 years of age, they couldn't get their knees to bend, and they couldn't get their hips to bend, so they could actually squat. Now they weren't overweight; they were actually farmers, so they had done labour, but there was none of that fast twitch fibre being fired. There was no flexibility in, in the muscle or anything like that. There was just no range of movement whatsoever, and it was actually quite like surprising for me to look at that and to see that, because I was just like, I never had that. I was playing rugby since I was 9 years old, so you were, you know, scrummaging and propping and tackling and getting into body position. Like you learned to hip hinge by propping, so like my hip hinge came from propping, and then whenever you're doing deadlift and squat, and you're getting your hip hinge is just natural to you. And I've seen that with so many clients, that their body just can't do what it's not been taught at a young age or as a teenager. Um, the potential, like, I think you can, like, you're talking like starting strongman in your 20s or maybe in your 30s, you can go from being averagely strong to being ridiculously strong in like quite a very small period of time if you do it right. It's not a thing that takes you 10 years to get the world's strongest man. You can do it. I believe if I knew what I know now, when I started, it would have been a different ball game for me altogether. Like my advice and training when I started was diabolical. Like it was the worst. My advice and training when I started was, there's a super yoke there. It weighs 300 kilo. Keep lifting it until you can do 20 meters, and you've never put a weight in your back in your life. That was my fucking advice and training. And there's a log there. It weighs 120 kilos. Just keep trying to lift it until you can press it. You know, you did that for too long. But yeah, like to know, coming in with the right knowledge. I do believe in genetics. I believe that like you, your body either has what it takes to gain weight or it doesn't. It either has what it takes to get stronger or it doesn't. That's not something. That's where the difference comes between being able to achieve something in 3 years and 10 years. Everybody can achieve it. Like everybody can. If you want to do a 300 kilo deadlift, you can achieve it. Somebody could do it in a 12-week program, and somebody else maybe needs 3 years to get it. But you still can do it. It's just figuring out your own body and your body genetics and what works for you. Because with training clients over the years and seeing different strongmen and stuff, um, I still have a coach who coaches me, but I would be very, if something comes through in the plan And I look at it now, I'm like, no, I know that doesn't work for me, so we're not doing that. Because you need to learn yourself. It's all right working with a coach, but and working with a coach is a good thing, but you have to realise that starting off in any sport, especially this sport, um, it's going to be trial and error with everything you do.
Yeah, like you were talking about when you were starting out, it was kind of just right, keep lifting something heavy until you're eventually able to do it. What
Yeah,
advice would you give to beginners? I'm
don't
still
do
pretty.
that.
No, don't do that. Yeah, I'm still very much a beginner. And you refereed my first comp, which is only last February at Renegade. Now I'm coming up. I've natural Ireland's strongest man, which is weight category again. But
Yeah.
say someone starting out like I was last year, what advice would you give to them?
Whenever you need to look at strongman as being a, a career rather than a comp. And unfortunately, I looked at it as being a comp. Every comp, when was the next competition? When was the next competition? I never looked at it as a career. But if you can look at it as a career and plan out your career and what you want to achieve within that career, now that could be a 5-year amateur career or that could be a 10-year professional career. But you need to plan it out as to first of all, say, what do you want to get from this sport? Is it a bit of crack? Is it a bit of fun? Is it just lifting weights? Or do you actually want to be a really good strongman? And if you do, then you need to sit down and plan out exactly what it is you want to achieve in your career. If you don't do that, then you're going to chase every comp. And every comp you go to, everybody wants to get podium. It's bullshit for people to say they don't. Everybody wants to get onto the podium. So you're always chasing a podium, but you've never actually prepared yourself properly that year to achieve a podium. You're always sort of chasing your tail, chasing your tail, chasing your tail. Um, as a kid, as a teenager, I raced racing pigeons with my dad, and there was a process to go through to get the birds to win a race. In the winter seasons, the birds weren't exercised. It was their rest. It was their downtime. It was the sort of help their bodies repair, recover. It was getting their bloods right, all that carry on. And then in summertime, you started them at a level and you exercised them, you trained them more and more and more to get them fitter. You had to get the weight off them first so they were fit enough. Then you had to put them into harder conditions, longer races, put them into sprints and long distance, depending on what race they were going in for. There was so much in priming that pigeon to race for depending on what type of race they were going into. Was it long distance? Was it short distance? Did the pigeon need long endurance training? Did it need fast twitch muscle fiber training? Was it a sprint or a long? And like it was just everything went into that one season. And realistically, each bird, it could have been 12 races throughout the year, but you had a different bird planned to win each race. And like every sport's the same, you need to like have a clear goal assessed as to what you're going to do. So if you're going to, in your own training, definitely, like if you haven't got goals set in your own training, then you shouldn't be fucking training at all, really, like unless you're doing it just for a hobby or fun. But in competitions, you should have goals set as well. So like you done the Renegade show there last year, the last time it was been ran, and you set a place in that. Now your goal should be to hit a certain place when you go back again. But you should also have your own personal goals as well. But Stuart Murray gave me the best advice that I ever got in strongman. Let me see if I fucking remember off the top of my head. Concentrate on beating yourself, Chris. And he says one day you'll beat everyone. And that is the best fucking advice I ever got. And I wish I listened to it more because there is an ego lifting in strongman, and it's a hard thing to shift. It's a hard thing to get rid of. And you love fucking lifting big weights too. Like whenever you get that buzz off pulling a big weight and lifting a big weight, even if it's just for your training partner and like a couple of lads, it gives you a fantastic buzz. So you do want to hit it all the time, but it's probably literally the last 3 years where I've wised up with that and been like, there's a program to follow. I think if somebody starts off with programs, they're in a good boat because they see from an early age that following the program gives you the result. So once you see that, then you're hooked on that. So anybody who starts with a good coach and starts in the program from the beginning will have a better career, like in strongman, like I believe, because that's one of the hardest things to get. It's sort of like a bodybuilder following prep for a comp. Once they do it once and they see what they can achieve, then their preps get easier then after that because they've seen the results. So if you can follow with a coach at the start, and you can see how programming helps you to succeed, then I think it'll help you out massively. I never got that. I always chased the big weights, chased the titles, and it definitely, in the long run, it cost me a lot of titles, and it cost me a lot of competitions, because the body would have been in a lot better shape today if it wasn't for getting on like that, at the start.
Yeah, like I was lucky enough. Like strongman isn't as big down in the south of Ireland as it is up in the north, but I think like she's in Tipperary. We're definitely the only gym that has full strongman equipment there.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough. I had my grandfather and I had a guy called Owen Shanahan. You probably competed against Owen before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had the two of them guiding me when I started out, and then I went under Matthew McNaghten for a little while, and I'm back under my grandfather and Owen. So I'm lucky enough I have the people around me to kind of get me by without looking for a coach.
Yeah.
But even at that, I'm still learning. But when I asked you to come on the podcast first, I was telling you that like I wanted to highlight the importance of exercise and fitness and the way it links into improving your mental health. Because strongman is what got me out of a hole. I was in a really dark place 2 years ago, and it was strongman that saved me, really. But I've seen your documentary. I'm not sure how many people have, but it was a brilliant documentary, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about that and how you coped with your mental health and where you are now.
Yeah. No, strongman over the years has definitely played like a massive role when it comes to support. With my mental health. To be honest, it doesn't play that role anymore today, but in the past it definitely has. For me today, I think I've just got myself into a better place, and I can see around me the things I really have to work on and to focus for. I think a lot of my drive and strongman now has went into business as well. And just turning 32, you just look towards the future and look at what you want to do, and a lot of it's financially affordable things. So like your focus does change a bit than running around at 20, 25 years old, not giving a shit and going to every strongman show under the country and burning through money left, right, and centre. But years ago, when I was in the 20s, to be honest, all through my 20s, if it wasn't for strongman there, like, this wouldn't be here today. And I know in my heart of heart, if it wasn't for finding strongman, I'd never have been where I'll never be here today. Like, there's no way I would. Strongman, like, massively changed my life. Like truly changed my life. And when I was 19, before I started strongman, I was a fat kid and I was bullied for being fat all my life. I had a great career in rugby, and I was respected massively in rugby, but I was at football school. That's my high school, and it wasn't respected in any way, shape or form. And you were just seen as being a fat mess because you didn't do football and you weren't able to do football because of the size you were. And that had a very lasting effect on me because I think kids being bullied for anything, or growing up being bullied, whether you're overweight or underweight, or you're too tall or you're too short, or you're black or you're white or you're gay or you're straight, or you change your hair, your frizzy hair or whatever, like just anything that makes you outside the norm is a target. And no matter what people target you for, it develops like deepening insecurities within inside you. And strongman helped me a lot with getting rid of them, because I suppose one of the biggest things was my body shape changed massively. I started becoming muscular, and started like getting girlfriends all of a sudden and going into relationships and running a bit with girls and all. Like that wasn't pre-existent before that. That wasn't even a thing. And it gives you more confidence and sort of lifts you a bit. But the it helped massively from the get-go. And then the other side of things where it helped was that there was so many days where things were getting tight, but after a training session you just are a different person. There's times that my thought was, if I didn't have training on them bad days, then what would I have done? Do you know what I mean? Like, what would I use to sort of lift me back up again? But it was like when days you're really struggling and you got into the gym, and even if you went in the most shittiest of mood, the lads pushed you through a training session and stuff, and then you walked out afterwards and you just felt okay. You know what I mean? And that's a great medication. That's a great coping tool. It's not a resource to make you better or to help you totally, but it's a medication. Do you know what I mean? It's the same way if you take antidepressants, they're not there to take away your depression. They're just there to help you through it. So it was a form of medication for a long time. I still struggle a lot with mental health today. I still struggle with anxiety quite a bit. And depression just comes and goes and comes and goes. But luckily today it's not as it was as much. It's more like in my 20s and stuff like that, it would have been more like it was rare to get a good day than it was to get a bad. Nowadays, it's probably 50-50. There's as many goods as there is bad. I think about it is, it's the thing about, when you try to talk to people about anxiety and depression, their answer to the first question, if I was to tell somebody I'm getting it tight, I'm struggling, their answer to the first question is whether or not I'm even going to talk to that person about it anymore. And normally when you say to somebody, look, I'm fucking really struggling at the moment, my depression's bad or my anxiety's bad, and they say, why, what's wrong with you? What's happening? What's going on? When I get that question back, as in, why, what are you anxious about? What's worrying you? Then I'm like, all right, you don't understand it, so I don't want to talk to you anymore. And that's me closed down with people,
Yeah, because at times it's hard to, it's like you don't know yourself what is actually wrong with you. I mean,
yeah.
I've had it myself. It's for someone, talking to someone that's not going through it or hasn't went through it before, it's difficult to explain it to them what you're going through, how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And one thing I took from your documentary, and I related to it, is how your sister kind of helped you come back to yourself a little bit, and took you away from the darkest thoughts. I had the same thoughts myself, and the only thing that was stopping me was I was saying, right, I'm a big brother. I have two little sisters to look after.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's what really kept me going, is having my two little sisters there. And I related so much when you were talking about that in the documentary.
Yeah. It was one of them things that was, it was a sort of a gift to be given to me that's not given, unfortunately, to a lot of people. So many people don't get a second chance when they get that low, when they do something like that. I was lucky that I did. And seeing that, as horrible as it was to see, it was what gave me strength at times. You needed strength. And then opening up my life quite a bit then after that as well. I have a lot of people in my life now that I love and I love dearly. I've obviously got my husband and my two best mates are both my training partner. One of them's like an older big brother, and the other one's like a son to me. And like the idea of what it would do to them and stuff like that. Those are things that sort of that's a great strength that I wouldn't have had before. Because there's been times, in the sense that there's been a lot of times, there's not a lot of times, but there's been, been a lot of hard times, and you just try to focus in, on people like that. And I am sort of lucky now where I'm in a position where I wouldn't have talked before. There's still people I wouldn't talk to, but there's people I have now, that all I need to do is drop a message, and I just am able to just come out with it to them now and just say, look, I'm not doing good at the moment at all, or I'm struggling at the moment, and I'd say that my training partner, I'll message him and say, look, I'm really struggling here, I'm getting it bad, and I'll be like, just simple things like, right, well, no worries, I've just something to do here, but sure, I'll come and grab you in a bit, and we go grab a coffee, or we can go for a walk, or sure, we'll train later on, and then go out and grab something to eat afterwards and stuff. It's just never really discussed, but just being, just having somebody there is just sometimes enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly sure your documentary definitely helped a lot of people, and it's probably a lot more people than you think. I mean, I had someone close to me that was going through a really dark spot, and it put me mentally back to nearly where I was, because I was so worried. But I got her to watch your documentary, and it kind of showed her that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is ways to do it, and for you, it is really hard to talk about. And for you to bring out a documentary and share your story and highlight like where you are now and stuff, that's massive. Like, and the amount of respect I have for that after seeing that. And then you were on the Tommy Tiernan show just last week, talking about it again on national TV. If there were more people doing it, it'd be great. Like,
yeah, I think the one message I try to get, across with seeming too big-headed or too cocky is that, I try to show people, if people know my story and know my message, then I try to show people as much of the life I'm living now. Because as I say, it's not full of happy times all the time. There is struggles, but like, I live a fucking amazing life now. Like, I genuinely do. Like, the opportunities that I have coming through the door, the things that are going on now, is just stuff that you would never have seen that light at that time. Like, you never seen it. As simple as that. You just seen nothing. And as I said in the Tommy Tiernan show, when I've been in stages like that, I actually think I described it to my father once before, where I said to him, the way you get excited to go on holiday, and when it gets closer and closer, like, you're more and more excited. I was like, that's the feeling of excitement that I had about suicide. That's how much I look forward to it, just to like stop everything and get away from everything. Like, that's the only way I could describe it to you, is that I looked forward to it. It was something that I couldn't wait to happen. And then you kept getting drawn back because of your connection with people and stuff. But like, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. There was nothing that you looked forward to or you thought was going to come or happen. But looking at my life now and everything that's in it now and everything that's happened over the past 4 years, it's just those maddest things. Like how many people from Larne go on to MTV to do a reality TV show, and then all the other stuff that's came in between it, with TV and media and, being invited here and invited there, it's those are just like things you never would have dreamt of, like, and never ever believed would have happened. And even just in general life, to be years later, have your own successful businesses and be married and settle down and be happy as well. There's just things you never ever seen, and that's the message I want people to take away. I want people, and that's why I'm glad Bear Strong wasn't meant to be raw. Like, we wanted honesty, but we didn't expect it to be raw. And that the part with the interviews was actually interviewed in the cave next door in the gym, and we closed it off, and it was a fella Ross that was doing the video, and like Ross came out in tears and all. He was just like, "Fuck, I didn't expect this, or didn't expect it would happen." And like, none of us expecting it would be that raw, but we're so glad afterwards that it was, because then people can truly connect and truly relate and truly understand what it was like for you then. But then when they look at my life now, it just shows them that there is light, because it's one of them sort of cliche things, isn't it, that people say there's always light at the end of the tunnel, there's always better days ahead, and you're like, fuck off. It just,
Don't want to hear it.
it's not helping right now, but like, you have to see, like, how many things are we told in life that we just don't believe? You have to see things. The majority of us have to see things in life to believe it. And I think if you could see it, then it helps massively.
Yeah, I mean, when you were talking about it being raw, I remember texting you asking, Chris, where can I watch your documentary? And when I stuck it on, I thought it was going to be a documentary about strongman and your career.
Yeah.
And next thing, an hour in, me and my missus are sitting there like, fuck.
Yeah.
We shed tears, but I felt actually a lot better after watching it, especially, at the end, and it shows the happy side of things, and where you are now, you own your own gym. Like, it is inspiring to watch, and anyone that hasn't seen it, it's Bear Strong. You can find it on Chris's YouTube, and it is well worth a watch.
Yeah, I would like to do like a Bear Strong 2 of some type, because I think we both sort of felt towards the end it was my documentary, but it was my husband John who put it all together and edited it and stuff. And there was this pressure was on us to get it out, because I had told my story on TV not long before that, and I realised that there was a huge amount of people who wanted help but didn't want to go down the professional side of things, which I can understand and I could relate. So my inbox was just like filling up with people wanting help, and it's just like, holy shit, like, how can you talk to this many people? Like, it's not possible. And then it's such a scary subject that you felt you were letting people down by not connecting with them or talking to them. And so that's where we got the idea of the documentary from. It was like, if we show it all in the documentary, then that in itself is like, if people just watch that, it'll help them. Like, and it did go viral. Like, it went worldwide. Like, it was huge over here, but massive in America and Canada. And South Africa too. Weirdly enough, I don't know where South Africa came from, like, but I get a lot of South Africans messaging me, like, saying that they watch Bear Strong and stuff, and it's just like, fuck. I hope you had subtitles, because there was no way you were understanding me the whole way through it. That's what I actually had to end up doing. Had to give it to a wee friend of mine, Sophie. She's like proofreader type thing, like some university education in English or shit. And I had to give it to her, and I was like, can you subtitle all this here for us? Because we're getting a lot of people who watch it, and loads of people messaging, but like, they don't speak English, and they needed subtitles to be able to read everything that was going on. So she done all the subtitles for us so we could get it out. But it went big when it was on Amazon Prime, but the only problem with Amazon Prime was that it was just Europe and UK. So then we had to put it onto YouTube so that everybody could get it. And then it went sort of big in America. And it still does. Like, it probably gets like 500 views a week. So it's still growing, still watched.
Even, like, the best thing about it being on YouTube is, people don't feel obliged to go off and pay to watch it. I mean, it's there, it's at your disposal.
Yeah.
Disposal. Literally just a click of a button and you have it there. I mean, some people wouldn't bother signing up for Prime or paying, but there's no real excuse to not be able to watch it now.
We got the YouTube channel then going after that, and we started into like mental health subjects and stuff like that, and like talking about it a lot. I literally sat down one day and was like, this YouTube's suppressing the life out of me. Like, it's just like, it can't be about this all the time. Like, we've done that, we've covered that. Like, let's make the YouTube fun. Like, let's have somebody like watch Bear Strong and go through that emotional journey, and then the next YouTube video they watch is like the chicken wing eating challenge, or like, you know, a funny video, like a fucking pole dancing video going up next week, you know, like things like that just lifts their mood. And as well as that, like, you know, the YouTube channel now is just about me and Bear Strong and everything that's happening and everything that's going on. There's always that message there. Do you know what I mean? There's always that message there, but I can't mentally sit down in front of a camera and talk about mental health every week. It would ruin my head, you know. And even with
Yeah,
the talks and
it is
seminars,
draining people.
I sort of learned that when I started doing talks and seminars before, it's just any time a booking was in, it was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then some friends, or it was actually a good friend of mine, Kaz Hawkins, who's in the documentary. She phoned me one night, messaged me one night. I had put something up on Instagram, and she messaged me. She's like, "I can just tell you're not in a good place." It was just literally like a story on Instagram where I was talking about something. She's like, "I can just tell you're not in a good place." And I was like, "No, I'm alright, I'm alright." And she says, "What's going on? What have you been at recently?" I was like, "I'm just doing a lot of talks and stuff like that." I says, "You know, Kaz," I says, "You know, your mood isn't exactly great when you finish them, you know." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "You know, just going through everything that happens." She's like, "Chris, you're living like probably one of the most traumatic moments of your life, and the most depressing moment of your life, 2 or 3 times a week, and you're reliving that." She's like, "You know, you can't be at that. You know, you need to give yourself breaks and let yourself afterwards pick yourself back up again, and like, you know, otherwise, she's like, you're going to get yourself depressed again." And she had a good point. Like, you know, it was after that, it was sort of, I could manage one a week or something, you know, and it not have that effect on me. But I do notice that if you were doing back-to-back talks and stuff like that, especially when you're going into the depths of that, you know, talking about stuff in general is not too bad. Like, but as well as that, as well, when you go into a room to do a workshop or a seminar, you share your story, but then afterwards you hear a lot of stories back, and that's like a sort of burden coming on top of you too, type of thing, you know, where you're sharing your story and then you're hearing all these, because there's none of them are happy stories at the end of the day. Maybe have a happy outcome, but like they're not happy to hear about what went on in people's lives, like, you know. So it is important for me. There's that saying, you know, you have to help yourself before you help anyone else. You know, that I just always remember that, and always remember to sort of look after myself first. And because if I don't look after myself, then you can't do good to help anybody else. You know, it's not a selfish thing to do. Like, if you want to be able to go out and help people and to do this work, then you have to make sure you're sort of looking after yourself too.
And you recently got married, Chris.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing on Facebook it was the first same-sex marriage in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And it looked unreal. I mean, I seen your stories on Instagram and stuff, and the fireworks. And first of all, congratulations to you
Thank you.
both. But what I don't know how to put this now, but what is it like being openly gay? Like, is it, you know, is it a struggle? Do people start, you know, kind of throwing digs and judging like that old-fashioned shit? It is a lot more acceptable, which it should be, but then you have these old-fashioned people that are just.
It is a lot more acceptable nowadays, but you know, well, if you put it like this, like, do we hold hands in public? No. The reason we don't is because we just don't want any hate and abuse, and we don't want to be stared at any more than we're already stared at. And you know, if we went to London, we would hold hands, no problem. But in Ireland and north or south, because we go to Dublin quite a bit, we wouldn't do it. For me, it's like, go be honest, it's given me an amazing life. It's opened up a lot of doorways to me. It's created a lot of doorways, and you know, it's something that now I'm so glad I did. You know, I wasn't ready to do it until I was 28. Like, I genuinely wouldn't have been ready to do it. And when I did, I remember saying to my friends and stuff like that, like, I felt like 18 again. Like, I genuinely felt like 18 again. Like, I just felt that that was the first time my life was starting. Um, I was going to London quite a bit, going to Edinburgh and these cities and stuff, and just exploring life. And I felt like a 17, 18-year-old again. Where I felt for the first time in my life that I was that age, um, and had the most amazing like experiences, opportunities, like the best, most craziest nights of your life. And I was definitely quite gifted that when uh, maybe gifted's the wrong word, but when I came out, it became very public, very quickly. Now that was my own choice. I decided that I wanted it to be public because I didn't want it to be gossip or a secret or whispered about and stuff like that. I just wanted to own it. Um, so I felt that if I took charge of it and I owned it and I made it public, well, then it wouldn't be a secret and stuff like this for people to talk about. But I was very lucky in a way that then I went into the gay world with that sort of semi-fame type of thing, um, which was was crazy for a lot of years to get my head around that. And it still is like that today, but like, I love it. Like, I'm not deny it. Like, I just like when you go to Soho in London and stuff like that, and you just have crowds of people looking photographs and meet you and stuff. It's just absolutely mind blowing. Like it's brilliant, but it's mind blowing. So when I first came out, I was lucky that I was sort of so well received in that way. And when I went to places that people knew me, and you sort of walk straight into the community and got talking to people and stuff. And for the first couple of years, like I truly had the fucking time of my life. And I look back at it now, like with like zero regrets. Like it was just incredible times, incredible memories, incredible people. Um, Glad I've done it and I'm able to like settle down in life now. But it never gets to the stage now where it annoys me. There would have been times before where um, you knew you were getting stared at for being gay, and you knew people were whispering and talking about you being gay and stuff like that. But I've learned to cope with that quite well. Like even just being a strong man, you just get stared at for it. Like and you get whispers and talk. But I was doing um, an online seminar there for a college in Cork during the week, and one of the young lads was saying about about hate and stuff like that, and do I get much hate and how do I cope with it? Um, and the best way I came to cope with stuff like that is that I realised very very quickly that the more successful you are in life, the more you achieve, the more you try to better your quality of life, then the more hate comes with it. And that doesn't matter if you're gay, you're straight, if you're motherfucking Teresa. The more you go out and you do, the more hate comes. And it's sad that that's the way the world is, but that is the way the world is. If you want to sit back, do a 9 to 5 job, or just live the most basic life that you could possibly live, and never stretch yourself, never try to achieve anything. Never show off you got a nice car, never show off you got nice clothes, never show off that your girlfriend's hot. If you want to sit back and be that person, then you'll probably go through your life without getting any hate. But otherwise, it's going to come. So, in a way, it does mark when you put yourself out there and you do start becoming successful in things. In a way, it does mark your success as by the amount of hate you get. Um, I'm lucky now. I don't get too bad. Like I remember years ago, I hadn't came out yet, but Rob Kearney came out, and I remember watching the internet and being like, "Holy fuck, I'm never doing this." Like he got slated beyond belief. Like the abuse that he was getting was just bad, and I was just like, "I ain't no fucking hope in hell I'm doing this now." like send me backtracking something shocking, because I'd
Yeah,
always heard about it, and then I went looking for it to see what the crack was and what was being said. And he was actually getting wise slating like in strongman forums and stuff, not directly, for being gay, but like I think it was more his branding and stuff like that, because he branded himself as being world's strongest gay, and it was a lot of guys were arguing like, why do we fucking need this stuck in our face, and like there was just a lot of negativity around it, but it made me sort of like maybe backtrack a wee bit, as if to say, fuck, fair play for him to do it, like, But
And Rob handles it really well. I was watching his podcast it was Joe Rogan's podcast, and
yeah,
Rob was on, and he mentioned that he was at a competition, and so someone shouted, I can't remember what he shouted, but shouted at him. Basically, it was homophobic, whatever it was, and Rob turned around and said, "Yeah, I suck dick and I'm stronger than you." And the guy could just,
that's always it's always a good argument to have, like, do you know what I mean? I always think I have said something along the lines similar, like, but whenever you do, I'd be honest, like, I haven't got, I don't get that much hate. Like, I've never got that much homophobia. I was at the UK, was it the UK team shows last year, where I was watching and Rob was competing, and there was a couple of Lithuanians who were sitting beside us, and obviously Lithuania's, well, in countries like that, it's a lot different than over here, and like they were getting torn into Rob, something shocking, like, and sort of sat, and then they turned around and they were like, "Oh, we don't like rainbow, we don't like rainbow," and I was like, "Right," and then they kept going on, going on about it, and then I showed them a picture of me competing at UK Strongest Man with a rainbow sock, so and then he just shut up and didn't say anything there the rest of the time, like.
I mean,
But
the Pride festivals look unbelievable. Like, I actually accidentally ended up at a Pride festival in Barcelona. Basically, I was about 14, 15, I think. Went over to Barcelona with my family and took us into a town called Sitges, which is just outside Barcelona.
that's not the right place to be for your first Pride party. Like,
But on the beach, there was just this stage set up on the beach, and we thought, it must be a rave or a techno festival, something like that. At the time, it was mainly men that were there, and I remember me and my cousin, and he's 3 years younger than me, so he would have been about 11 or 12. We were just looking, we were like, there's no nice women here, though. Then we seen the sign, gay pride, and we were like, oh, Jesus. And at our age, it was kind of new to us as well, and we didn't know how to take it, but it looked like unbelievable crack, and I'd actually love to go to one.
Sieges is they do a thing. Their pride is like bear pride, so it's all bears and muscle guys and daddies and all that shit will go to.
Yeah, they were huge.
So yeah, they'll all be big men. Like, and for the past couple of years I've got invited to go out to it, but I was going to go one year, but it fell through. But yeah, like, see, normal prides like Dublin Pride is actually a brilliant pride to go to because it's big, but it's not overly big. We went to London Pride 2 years ago. Fuck me, there's 3.3 million people at it, and it was bad. Like, and I, like an idiot, I went wearing my UK Strongest Man singlet, and it was not too bad when we were going around the crowds. And then when we went to Soho, things just got like on top of you, just like overpowering, and people coming forward, and you couldn't move anywhere because the crowds was too much. And I just said to John, I was like, right, get me out of here. I said, we need to get back to the hotel, get this fucking singlet off. Like, but the Manchester Pride and stuff like that, they're supposed to be great. What do you call it? Great crack too. But they are, like, they're amazing celebrations, amazing party, like amazing scene, and there's just no shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I struggle now after going to gay clubs and nightclubs and all for so long. I struggle now, like, going back to a straight club, and it's not because, I'm a partner and all now. It's not because I'm looking to pull around like that. It's just that when you're in a gay bar, you just straight feeling comfortable, and you go up on the dance floor and you just dance with the girls, you dance with guys, you just socialise so well and stuff like that. But I found myself there pre-COVID. I actually went out to the straight nightclub, and I just went in, did my normal self, like a couple of shots, and away I went. I just forgot, like, how every girl thinks you're trying to come on to them, and you can't just go up and start randomly dancing with people and stuff, and like, I just forgot how, like, you feel uncomfortable, and you feel like, I definitely feel way more judged in a straight club than I do in a gay club. Like, I don't feel any judgment in gay clubs at all. Like, you can go to our, like, local gay club with an Under Armour t-shirt on, a pair of jeans, and you're fine. You know what I mean? There's like no judgment as to what you're wearing or how you look or how you're getting on or how you're acting. Like people just like don't care, and it's a far nicer way to be.
Yeah, even like we live in a small town. Well, it's big enough, but it's small compared to the likes of Belfast. But there was actually a Pride night in town. I think it was 2 years ago. It was one of the best nights I've ever seen in the town.
Mm. It's been
Like,
okay. We ran one. I ran one there 2 years ago in my local town, met in East Antrim. We ran Larn Pride, and it turned out to be a massive success. But there needs to be, I know there's a big ongoing battle with education and stuff like that there, but there needs to be more knowledge about it, because I'll be honest, I only understood and figured all the shit out the past 3 years since I came out. Like I had see the minute I came out, you may as well just label me a virgin again. Like I understood nothing. Like my knowledge of my sexuality, my knowledge of my gender, my knowledge of everything was just like unknown. And when you start to learn and you start to like understand yourself more, it like helps you massively in life. And for so many people, it's like um, you're either straight or you're gay, and that's not the case in life at all. You just aren't one or the other. It's as simple as that. You can be, but like there's so many people out there who are not, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle to come to terms with their sexuality and stuff, because they believe that if they have any attraction to men, then that means they're gay, which doesn't. And the same with women. If women have any attraction to females, they believe that that means they're a lesbian, and that's just a lack of knowledge, a lack of education and understanding. I think it would help so many people out there, um, if they could just be educated more and they understand more. And going back to the mental health thing as well, that was the biggest factor that played in my mental health. And I know 3 people that I knew that have lost to suicide because they wouldn't come out as being gay. And I, hand on my heart, believe that it's the biggest killer in young people when it comes to suicide. It's just not accepting or being willing to accept who they are, or live their life. That's my opinion, but from what I've seen in so many people, I believe that so many lives have been lost when they really don't need to be. You know what I mean? And that's when people say, oh, why is your Instagram all about being gay? And like, why do you have to wear rainbow socks? Why do you have to do this? Why do you do that? And it's like, if you're asking that question, it's not fucking for you. Do you know what I mean? I wear these
yeah, I mean
rainbow
that's
socks because a young lad could be sitting in that audience at 15 years age, knowing that he's gay, but shit fear to tell his mum and dad about it. He sees my rainbow socks. He remembers my name until he gets to YouTube that night. Then he looks me up on YouTube that night and he starts hearing all about my story and gets help and advice and support from it. It's not about look at me, I'm
like
gay.
in a way that's the same as me having my dog all over my Instagram or someone having their child. Like you're proud of it and you're
Yeah,
showing that you are proud. You're not hiding it.
proud of it now. I live so much of my life not being proud of it. I'm proud of it now, but that's why if I ever get on the platform of UK's, Ireland's, anything like that, that's why there will be that aspect of pride there, and it's not because I want the world to know I'm gay. It's because there's I give you my Instagram and let you look at it after I do that, and you'll see the amount of young lads, the amount of guys who message me on it who are struggling to come to terms with who they are, or they're struggling to tell family and friends, and they see me competing in the UK's or they see me competing in Ireland wearing rainbow socks, and then they go onto my Instagram and they see my Instagram and they start learning my story. Like I show people, like I won't show people, but like the messages that come through, like that's my reassurance that it's the right thing to do. And I don't I'm not one of these people to push in people's faces. And it was actually before I came out, it was something that I couldn't understand myself as to why it seems like it's put in people's faces so much. The only reason it is because there's a need to. If that need wasn't there, then there would be no need to do it. It's the same way if, you know, if there was no need for pride, then we could just all go get pissed together. But like the fact that there's still a need to have pride, there's still a need to protest, there's still a need for rights and equality, and there's still a need to get rid of stigmas and stuff. That's why we still have to have pride festivals. But if there wasn't a need for it, like I welcome the day where there's not a need for it, like. But until there is, then that's why they're still there.
And like weirdly, like when you were saying that you know you get judged, you feel like you can't hold hands. Like it's weird that if that was two women, it would be looked at differently.
Yeah.
Like it's like gay women are more accepted than gay men, and
Yeah.
you know it's kind of seen
can
as sexy straight men at times.
it can be, but I know that there'll be a lot of gay women who would get, they probably wouldn't get it from men so much, but they would get it from women. You definitely, I think you get the looks and the stares, and the looks and the stares are, you know, sometimes enough, especially like if you're not in a good mindset yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know the days where you're like your mental health's not good, and then people are staring at you. Like that's the last thing you want. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a bad mind space, you just don't want the thought of that people are staring at you and stuff. Um,
I mean, at the end of the day, you're not causing anyone any harm, so I don't see. I just don't
oh, like
understand why it's such a big problem.
I've genuinely, like, when me and John have done it before, we've genuinely had parents pull their children away from us, and people sitting outside cafes, you know. And I'm not talking like you don't get any shit from young people. Like you maybe get some wee lads turn around and mouthing something, like, you know, but you just like turn around and say, "Yo, I fucked your dad," type of thing. Like you just have a bit of banter with it, like. But like it's more the older people, like people who are in their 40s and their 50s and stuff, and you know, you walk by and they literally just shout at you, dirty bastards and all, and like, you know. But the thing that annoyed me, we were actually up Portrush one day, and like we were walking the dog, and I was holding John's hand. The dog's a mini sausage dog, and she was wearing a pink fucking harness. So I don't think the woman pulled the weans out of the road because of the dog. I think it was more because of us. And then when we went past, um, the mother told the weans that was bad. That was bad, and they're not allowed to do that. You know, and there's in Ireland, I think north and south, there's still far too many fucking parents who have that mindset. And you know, the more parents who can hear my message, the fucking better. Because parents who put that pressure, and I was lucky, you know, I didn't have that pressure with my mum and dad, like, but like parents who put that pressure on their weans are really, really risking losing their weans altogether, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, they're literally at like they're at nothing. The way they're telling their kids like that's bad because when they go into school, it's actually accepted a lot in schools. I know there's going to be some people that are following their parents and saying that's bad, but I mean, even going around town here, I see more kids with Pride school bags, Pride lunch boxes. You know,
Yeah.
it looks like in the schools it's more support than what it is outside schools, out in
Yeah.
society,
That's a
which
good
is
thing.
great to see because
Yeah. Like the old all die, like we all the old all fade out at some stage, like, you know, it is. I find it's very good to see the newer generation like coming through with different minds, and you already see it. Like I went back to my old secondary school to do a talk, and fuck, I was shocked, like shocked with the amount of kids in there who were LGBTQ. Like when I was at school, nobody was. Well, nobody was out then anyway. And you, fuck me, you wouldn't dare admit it, like, you know. And my old school, like, you know, throughout that school, I had dozens and dozens and dozens of kids who were LGBTQ, and it was just like, and out and proud. And I was just like, you know, fair play to them, like, you know, because I wouldn't have had the balls at school to do that, like, you know. I was trying to see, but that is because it's more accepted, and commercially, social media and stuff like that, like nowadays is helping. Like there's so many more stars are coming through, and um, it helps massively. And there's a lot of work in the future after COVID here for myself. That I can't wait to do and get stuck into that is going to make a big difference to people as well.
And just like when it comes to going back to strongman, we'll say what would your biggest achievements be?
Um, at strongman, I think the biggest achievement has been like I've the character and the brand that I built up through strongman. So many people go into the sport of strongman, and they compete. They win shows, they walk away, and then they're left with nothing. Um, you know, there's been a lot of good occasions and a lot of good sort of like getting the Britons and UKs and stuff like that there, but you know, big man won't mind me saying this because he knows that I totally disagree with it. But there's a saying that people only remember winners, and it's truly the most bullshit statement that I've ever heard in my life. Nobody remembers a fucking winner. Like a winner means nothing to nobody. The only thing you're ever remembered for in life is how you make people feel. And whether you're a winner or you're a loser, people will only remember you by how you made them feel. And it's a thing that I've sort of lived by as hard as I could over the years, because it's very hard to when you struggled yourself over the years, or you're struggling at a time. It's very hard to have a good persona about you to other people. Do you know what I mean? It's very hard to like make sure everybody you meet them with kindness and enthusiasm, and you make them feel good when they leave you. But I do try my hardest to do that, and to make sure that everybody I meet through strongman or through whatever, that they have the best possible experience of meeting me first time or second time, because that's your legacy. Like you're not remembered for anything else. Because I'm a huge strongman fan, and if you ask me to name the six world's strongest man over the last 6 years, I couldn't tell you. I've maybe mentioned a couple off the top of my head, but I can't tell you who won what.
Yeah, a lot of strongmen are kind of more so remembered for their character. Like, I mean, you've Robert Oberst. He's never won World's Strongest Man, but he's a joy to watch.
Yeah,
Just for his character. The same with Luke Stolman, Rob Kearney.
Mm-hmm.
They're all brilliant to watch, and they're entertaining to watch, and that's why people remember them.
Yeah.
Like Luke and Rob could still, you never know, could still go on and win it. But
Sure.
I'm just saying, characteristically, they're always going to be remembered.
Yeah, and I like to look on Tom Stoltman. Like, in fairness to the two guys, like they're at a stage now where their whole profile's blown up and their businesses is blown up and all the rest of it. But the two of them guys are still the most down to the earth guys you can come across. They're still the same guys who started off in the gym years ago. They haven't changed at all. Like, you do find that quite a lot in strongman. Like, one of my best friends in strongman is Lawrence Shelley, and like Lawrence is just the most down to earth. That doesn't change. Talks to everybody on the same level type of guy. Mark Felix is the exact same. I was actually nervous first time I talked to Mark Felix, and then the next thing we were sitting talking about Granada, where he's originally from. Was my husband's originally from there, and just so down to earth. Like there's no level of do you know who I am type of thing or anything like that there, or I've been at this for years type of shit. Like just and it's good that people do keep that, but like. I think that the people who will always be remembered most in strongman are the people who have connected most with others and had the best characters, and I think I've achieved that in Ireland. Like I believe in Ireland. Not everybody will agree with me, but I believe I'm the most well-known strongman in Ireland at the moment, and will be for a few years to come. And financially wise, business wise, I've done the best at a strongman in Ireland too, because I sort of realised that years ago that this is a sport that costs a lot of money, and if you want to be successful in it financially, you need to like do a lot of work for yourself and for your brand and for who you are. And when I started doing that, you know, like the sport wasn't a drain to you anymore, where it's always take, take, take. You know, it started to become sort of rewarding in a way, shape, or form. Because originally you asked that question, whatever year Irish Muscle Power was in the waterfront, and there was a panel of Benny Magnuson, Andy Bolton, and Colin Bryce. And I asked the question, do you believe that you can have a career in strongman? And Benny quickly grabbed the mic off Colin Bryce and turned around and said, look, basically what he said was, if you set your mind to it, and you set your mind to achieve it, he says, you can achieve anything you want. He says, I believe, he says, you can make a career out of strongman. And then he gave the mic to Colin Bryce, and Colin Bryce says, there's no money in strongman. He says, very, very few people will ever make a career and make money out of strongman. You know, there's just no money in it. It came along a bit since then, like, but, you know, Benny Magnuson's probably one of the most inspirational people I ever talked to in my life. Like, has the most phenomenal outlook in life. And he actually said in his seminar too that the most important thing when you meet people will always remember how you make them feel. And he talked about when he did the world record deadlift, and it was in his wee Icelandic voice. He was like, when I pulled world record deadlift, he says, like, 3 people got so excited they fell off the balcony, like fell out of the stadium. And then he was like, but when Eddie Hall did his deadlift, he was like, nobody fell off the balcony. He's like, because I make people feel so excited they fall off balcony.
Yeah, he has such a lovable character. Right? He always looks like the happiest person in the room whenever you're watching him in a competition. He's just all smiles.
He is a very like you wouldn't think watching him compete or lift, but he is a very almost like, it reminds me anyway of like almost like a hippie outlook in life, like a pure happiness. And like we asked him, we were like, what was the greatest moment you ever had? The same question you asked me. And he was like, oh, when I pulled the £1,000, I think it was, you know, his world record one where he did with a big steel plate. I think he said he did it in Texas or something like that. Some of these details might be wrong because it was years ago. But after he'd done the world record deadlift years ago, you know, not the original, one of the original ones, one of the old ones, he was like afterwards, because it was in Texas, they all went out hunting, and they all went and they hunted a boar and caught the boar, and then cooked the boar that night and sat and ate it, the thing. And he was like, that was the happiest moment I ever had in strongman. I was like, what, doing the deadlift or like going and hunting the boar? And he was like, oh, hunting the boar. But he's mad, like, and he was like, all he ever did was he lived in a tent for a long time, competing as strongman. Just lived out of a tent, and he was like, it was weird what he said. He was like, people thought I didn't have any money. He says, but like, he had fishing rods that were over £1,000. He was just wild, content, and happy in his life and what he was doing. Like, brilliant outlook, brilliant way to be. Like, don't get me wrong, just not something that I would relate to yet. Like, you know, he's just, the simple things give him fantastic pleasure.
And are you planning on making a comeback yourself to strongman, or are you just kind
of? It's looking that way. I had an anonymous sponsor came forward to ask me to keep competing, because they want the pride flag flown at Ireland's Strongest Man. So it's looking like I'm going to keep competing. And I did say whenever I walked away, it was because I was getting married and financially I couldn't commit anymore to putting that amount of money into the sport. And I was honest about that and just said, look, it's I feel that now's a good time to go out because money wise and all, and you know, I just want to focus on business and focus on making money and settling down, and you know, there's a lot of things financially we want to achieve. So I was very content in walking away because you know, there was enough of it in my 20s was sport, enough of it was the excitement. You still get the excitement to compete, but it's definitely not the way it was in the 20s. It's take it or leave it type of thing now. But getting financial support with it now, I've got a really good sponsor. Then I could definitely go back and give it a proper go again. I just think that I think a lot of people get to the stage as well, like when you have families and stuff like that. It's such an expensive sport to do right, and like if you're not if you don't have a sponsor, you don't have money coming in to justify it, then a sports massage is 40 quid a go. A tub of protein is 40 quid a go. It's all the wee things add up, and you just sort of think, I could be putting that into better in both of our lives. I could be putting that into so much more. I think it is a selfish sport, and everybody will say that. Anybody who competes will say it's a selfish sport. But I think that wears done after a while. Do you know what I mean? I think it doesn't. After a while, it's just like, all right, life's not about me anymore. It's about the people around me, and like I still am in some aspects being selfish, because I know rightly the people who love me and are around me don't want me doing strongman anymore. Because they've had enough years worrying about my health and all the rest of it. But I just feel that there's, as I said to you earlier on, the lifelines are running short. There's not a lot of years left, but if I could do two more, and having this financial support is a huge help too. And if I'm able to win Ireland, then we'll get a deposit for a house out of it. So that's my main focus. If I could do that, then it's a big payday, and then I can chill out.
A nice way to motivate you anyway. Get the house, but like at least it kind of spurs you on. I mean, it'd be great to see you come back to Ireland's Strongest Man, flying the pride flag, and then going on winning it, and just go out with a bang.
Yeah, it's something that I feel I can do guilt free at the moment, and that's not anybody making me feel guilt, but like I said to you before, like a lot of my the way I used to self medicate through training, I do through work now. And if I don't work, I get like powerfully anxious. Do you know what I mean? Like my anxiety goes through the roof when I'm not working. That's why this lockdown has been so shit. I find it very hard to cope when I'm not working. So if I'm putting too much into strongman and to training and stuff like that, then it makes me feel so anxious about the fact that I'm not working. But now that I've got sponsorship and I've got a financial goal to work towards in strongman, then that lets me chill with all that. It takes the guilt away and lets me just sort of be like, you are working here, like you have to go in and train, like this is your fucking job here for the next year, like until you lift the title, like.
And just my last question, because I don't want to hold you too long or have you getting sick of looking at me, but who or what is your biggest inspiration, whether it's strongman or life?
Probably when it comes down to everything, like my dad's always been the biggest inspiration, and like nobody can beat that or top that. He always has inspired me to win. He's always inspired me to train hard. He's always given me the motivation more than anything. I'm lucky now that other people have come into my life that have helped to fuel that even more. But when it comes to the heart of it, like, he's been massive motivation for years. Like, and he's always said the same thing. He's like, and he's right in what he says. He's always said it to me, and I always remember it going through hard times. And I've heard him say it to me, and I've heard it say it to other people. And it's like, if Chris wants it, Chris will get it. He does it every time. If he really wants something, he sets his mind to it. He'll make it happen. If it's not something he really wants, then it just doesn't happen. And he's right. The stuff that I have been like, I'm gonna make that happen. I need this. I want this. Then it always comes right. Like. But no, he's been a huge motivation and inspiration all over the years. Like, and he still is this day. Like, but it's good now. Like, you know, I feel that we're at the stage now that we're in, we're enjoying life more, and I think there's not as much as there's been so many negatives that came um, from lockdown. There's been great positives that came from it too, where you've just been like, when the stress leaves and it's just you're left with the people that are most close to you and important to you, then all of a sudden um, you start to take them for who they are again, if you know what I mean, and then you take that relationship for who they are again. I sort of realised that like my work life and what I do through my businesses is chaotic. It's madness, and it never stops. Like the phone never stops, Instagram never stops, but just never stops. And unless you walk away from it, you're never away from work. You're always working. Um, and I think over the years that's been something I've been very guilty of when I'm in the company with people I love. I'm still working. So lockdowns helped me to see that and helped me to see that, you know, them simple pleasures are there. And them simple adventures and stuff like that, they're all in my life. And I need to start, when things go back to normality, that's one part of lockdown I want to take with me, is that I want to make sure that I give that time moving forward, where it's like, this is the time of the people I love. And, you know, I have a, I have a very small circle of people who not so much are obviously so many friends, and like I've a lot of people who are in my life, but like I have a small circle of people who I'm close to and I choose to love, and them people get all of me, and like it's a small circle. It's my close family and my husband and probably three friends, and they get all of me, all my love, all my attention, anything they need, anything they want, anything I feel they need in life, or they need help with in life, they get it all. And that's because I've learned over the years, you know, that it's rare to find people who are, you know, to cherish like that there. And when you do find them, that you look after them and you do as much as you can for them. And that's where, going forward, that's where my goals lie, is that I can be financially secure enough where I give myself the life I want, but I can also give them people the life that they need and they deserve too.
It shows a lot about your character that, you know, you're not doing this just for yourself. You want to help the people that have been there for you and helped you. And like, I'm the same. I can relate to you that your dad is your biggest inspiration. I mean, I'm very close to my grandfather, and like everything I do, especially strongman wise, is, you know, in a way to make him proud. And
Yeah,
like, I mean, but he's different to your dad in a way, because your dad says, yeah, right, Chris wants it, Chris will do it. But then if I'm in the gym and I'm going for a PB, he's just in my ear saying, you're not going to do it. Just says, just go home.
yeah,
And, you know, he knows that spurs me on. So
yeah. It's two different. It's two different ways of subconsciously, you know. I've had people try that with me before, and then my, you know, then I sort of turn around and be like, right, fuck you, and walk away. That reverse psychology doesn't really work with me, type of thing, like, you know. Overall, like, proving people wrong would be a big thing over the years. But yeah, it's that sort of reverse psychology type of thing. If you have that firmness in you, like, it can definitely spur you on.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I'll let you get back to your Saturday night and enjoy it, Chris. First of all, I want to just say thanks very much for coming on. It
No
was an
bars
absolute
here.
privilege having you on and talking to us and sharing your story. Before I go, if anyone wants to check out Chris's website, it's bearstrong.co.uk, and Bearstrong on all social media.
Yep.
And you've just launched some supplements on your website as well, I think.
Yeah, we just brought the supplement range. So what the crack is with our clothing range and supplement range is that it's all Bear Strong branded to raise awareness for mental health, but we take the profits from that and we use the profits from that there to be able to pay for like seminars and talks for places that can't afford them. So when the big wig companies want me to go in and to do a seminar and a talk, obviously they could pay their own way. But there's a lot of people out there that there's a lot of community-based stuff. There's a lot of charity-based stuff. Even schools and colleges, they sometimes can't get funding to bring speakers in or talkers in. So we sort of use that kitty to either discount it for people or to be able to go and to do talks and stuff like that. So it's the more clothes people buy, then the more we can be able to do work like that there, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, I've seen the clothes myself, and I've been meaning to get them, and I will get around to getting them definitely. But like, they are really nice clothes. They're affordable, and they're all for a good cause. So I mean,
Yeah.
and you're supporting local as well, especially if you're living in Ireland. So
Yeah, well, that's it. Like that's it. But it's good. Like, you know, somebody just said there in the comments. It's a brilliant conversation starter. Like, you know, when somebody you're wearing Bear Strong, somebody's like, what's Bear Strong? Then you talk about me, you talk about my story, and then I guarantee you, within less than a minute, you're having a conversation about mental health with somebody. I guarantee
yeah,
it. Like, guarantee it. The only time I fucked up, I'll leave you with this story, then I'll have to go because I'm hungry. But the only time I fucked up a bit, it was I was coming back from London, and I was at airport security, and I always get stressed with airport security because I just don't like jobs worth, you know, that people that like just are too much. Um, and I'd already got searched going through the scanners. Last time I was coming back from Germany, I was going through the scanner and it didn't beep, and the security guard asked to search me anyway, and I was like, "What? I'm dickhead!" Like, you know, it didn't even beep, and he just went straight down to my calves and like grabbed my calves and then stood up. It was like, "Oh, they're ready." They literally called me over because they were looking at my calves and they were like worried in case there was something stuffed in my calves. But this time I was coming back from London. I was wearing a Bear Strong hoodie, and I was putting the stuff in the tray and stuff like that. And this guy was standing in front of me, and he had like a big beard, and he would remind me of like he was like a gay bear or something like that there. And I was just about to go through, and he turned around and he was like, "Oh, are you into outdoor stuff?" And I was like, "You're doing your job." I thought he was in. I thought he was meaning are you like into like outdoor stuff, like, you know, and like dogging and stuff. It's just the way he said it. And he's like, "You into outdoor stuff?" And I was like, no. And then like threw my tray down and like pure dropped through. I went to the other side. I was like, I can't believe that fucking guy, like in the middle of his job, like asked me if I was in the and like that's not right. You can't do that while you're in the middle of your job. And I put my belt and all the rest of it and all on. And the next thing, the tray and all came out and all, I walked away and it dawned on me. He must have looked at it and thought it was something to do with Bear Grylls. And that's where he was getting the outdoor stuff from. I'm sure he thinks that guy's an absolute dickhead, like, but because it happened a time not so long before that where somebody seen Bear, thought it was something to do with Bear Grylls, and I'm not a Bear Grylls fan, like, you know, but it just dawned on me whenever I was walking away. I was like, oh my god, I pure snubbed that guy. He wasn't even meaning that.
of course your mind went straight to dogging.
It's just the way.
Guilty
It's just the
fucker.
way I was so tired, and it was obviously a weekend in London, so I was in that community, and it's just like I was like the cheek of that fucker, like saying that there, and God love him, it wasn't even what he was on about.
Well, that's um that's a wrap. So, but finished off with a brilliant story, and eventually, like, we covered everything. We went from talking strongman to mental health to training pigeons, and then somehow to dogging. So I really enjoyed having you on, Chris. It's been absolutely brilliant, and hopefully I'll talk to you again, whether it's at a competition or maybe a pride festival in Belfast. I'll pop up,
I'll
but we're
see you
not
soon.
going dogging.
Take care of yourself, lad.
Thanks a million,
All right,
Chris.
bye, bye, bye.